Good evening, dandies. Welcome to Undetermined, the podcast.
So glad we're on the same page about the consideration I crave. So glad we see
I can go to Wired too. I'm running these AirPods. Does it sound like I'm on the mic I use for movie night extravaganza, which is fine. The big nice broadcast mic is downstairs, but that's a less comfortable seat, which is the lamest reason to go for lesser audio. But
fucking, it's not my show.
if it's not my show, I'm going to be in a comfortable seat. Thank you very much. But yeah, if that sounds all right, this is good by me.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, does it sound goofy or weird, or is it too loud?
No, you sound about the way you normally do when you're on.
Well, there's a couple that haven't been so hot, so I don't know if that's a compliment or not. I mean, it should sound good.
No, it sounds fine.
Okay, all right. Well, if you guys say it's your show,
we'll fix it in post.
Yeah, we'll fix it. Well, did you catch that in Action Chief?
That was actually part of why that was in my head.
Yeah, so far so good. We'll fix it afterwards.
And I almost wondered, like, that was something I was going to ask about. Even was that just like improvised song? We'll figure it out later. We're just sounding good for now. It almost felt like that.
That'd have to be a Joe question, because like that was like this one of my stated goals for Action Chief. Which was that I just want to shred. I don't want to worry about lyrics. I don't want to doing vocals. I just want to play guitar. Right. And like I can kind of lead the band and arrange that way and all that good stuff, but I don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah.
But Joe's really good at coming up with that kind of stuff. But we have a very different writing process, so I just sort of stayed in my lane for the most part. But some of the stuff he came up with is really good, and it's like, oh, that's very clever. Super. I mean, he's a great lyricist. That's not surprising.
Did you find that like more relaxing for you, or was it just like did your inner control freak like kick in? Or
well, I mean, relaxing may not be the right term, but it's it achieved the goal for me of I've never done that in any band I've ever been in. I've never been just guitar player, right? And so I was able to focus on coming up with like cool hooks and arrangement ideas and stuff, and like really, really focus on that, and that achieved that stated goal for sure. There's certainly, when my advice was asked for, Joe would be like, hey, what do you think about that? Like, I think that's good. Or I think that, needs work or whatever.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's like, he's a guy that's, I don't know if you're familiar with Joe's stuff.
No, not until now. Yeah.
He was in Mangle Check Engine with the Sweep the Leg Johnny guys. If you know them, he was in a band called Emily way back when in the 90s, but he's, there's a band called Work that technically they didn't break up, but the drummer moved to Texas, which for normal bands usually means, it's not really going to be a band anymore. Technically they didn't break up, but like, yeah.
Right.
But they were like, I felt like the best band in Milwaukee, frankly. And then he plays in Resurrectionists now, who are great. It's sort of like, if Americana had like Doom moments, is probably the best way I could put it. Like beyond just like the subject matter, but just like, you play some death banjo. Like it's pretty interesting. It's interesting enough that I'm putting the record out for him.
Yeah.
So obviously I like it. But he's just like whatever he does, it's not always the same kind of thing. It's always super, super cool. But the funny thing about Action Chief is it's been around for a while. It's just that like we only finally got around to it. Because every time like we would get like a lineup together and be like, hey, yeah, this sounds good. Okay, maybe we should go like play a show or something. And then something would fall apart. Somebody would ditch out, whatever.
Yeah.
Pandemic shows
up.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's that too. Well, that actually helped make it happen, because then we were like, oh, well, hey, I like these songs. You like these songs? It was like, yeah. Oh, well, it's a shame that we never got together. Why don't we just have Tony play, who's basically my shared brain? And JB, who plays very often in Secret Friends, and like we know those guys are killer musicians. We know we could like knock it out pretty quickly. So that became this iteration of Action Chief, and then we went and recorded with Mike Lust from Lester King and Tight Phantoms and all that. And it turned out pretty good.
It did.
It's funny because like my original conceit of this for this band was to have a band that just played live and like didn't get around to recording until like whatever, way down the line. Because Secret Friends would always get asked to do shows, and the logistics sometimes would be like a pain in the ass. Like really, it's like, hey, I like you guys, but I don't know if orchestrating this on a Tuesday is really our thing. Whereas like, but we definitely, we make lots of records, go on tour, do all that stuff. And then it's hilarious because it's just sort of, that is not the case at all. Like, and we've played 3 shows now, 2 of which were opening for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, and the other one was Caterwall.
Nice.
And none of them are in Milwaukee. Not a single one. It's 2 Madisons and 1 Minneapolis.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can't argue with the results. I think it's a neat record.
Oh, I love it.
It's been cool exercising those muscle groups. Like when we like the second practice ever. I guess I was making like a weird face or something, and Joe's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm just remembering what it's like to work collaboratively again."
Right.
Because that isn't how like Secret Friends is at all. I mean, obviously their arrangements and recordings are, but like the idea of just like, oh no, you have to listen differently, and there's this like process of weeding out, to quote Black Flag, and so it's a way different type of process, which results in a way different kind of band.
It's definitely different.
I have no idea. It was like, is this for anybody other than us? I have no clue.
No, yeah, it absolutely is. I dug it. And I mean, the biggest thing that I liked about it in listening to the album this week was like, oh, that's what like a lot of post-punk bands are trying to do. And they just suck. And
Nice.
And I'm like, it's like, it was refreshing to know that I don't have like old ears, I'm just not like that old curmudgeon who like, hates everything new. And it's like, no, it's like, this is what they're trying to do. And they're just not doing it very well. And you guys are. And I thought, yeah, that's exactly what they should try for.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really dug it, man. I'm digging it a lot.
That's awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's a bunch of guys that have been doing it for a while, and that's probably got something to do with that.
I mean, I thought of figuring out like how many records had been recorded between all of the different members or something and putting it up, but I just didn't. I was like, I don't care about that. And I did that for Household Gods. It was an astonishing number, but that was mostly because of Paho. But like, I was like, you know what? But the thing with Action Chief was we were just kind of letting it be its own deal. Like we barely acknowledged like the people that are in it, which we do, because it actually irritates me when people don't have, like, you go to the Bandcamp, where's this band from? Who's in this? Oh,
right.
I don't know either of those pieces of information. That makes me crazy.
Right.
So we definitely mention who's on and who does what, but we're not trying to present too much information with it. It's Action Chief, it's bizarre. It's crazy. It's unique. It's different.
Where did the name?
Oh,
Go ahead.
We were at Joe and I were at Cactus Club in Milwaukee, and this is before, because he plays in the live version of Conan Neutron: The Secret Friends quite a bit, but at the time he didn't. But he was just a guy I knew. He's just a guy like like whatever. We're fellow smartasses and people doing rock and roll at, I wouldn't say an advanced age, but that aren't youngsters either.
Right.
And he was like, you and I should start a band. I'm like, yeah. I was like, well, I got 2 rules. I'm just gonna shred, and you have to sing. And that's in WWCND, which I think is doubly hilarious too. Like it kind of homages that conversation in its way. But I was deadly serious. I'm like, I've never done that before. That's why there's been bands I've started off doing that, and then it's just like, well, somebody's got to do this. Fine, I'll do it. And even with Household Gods, I told all those guys, I was like, hey, can I don't want to do any of the vocals. And then I ended up doing like almost all the vocals.
Right.
But of course that was marred by tragedy, so that's like whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
It wasn't like a Billy Corgan syndrome where like, you heard everybody else's work and decided to flush it and do your own.
Like Swan, yeah. Yeah, for those that missed the nuance of that. Well, and then and then the people like, oh, this guy just wanted to sing over with all these people that I like, and whatever. People think the most uncharitable things possible. It's like, no,
of course,
literally was the opposite of that.
Yeah.
I was like, I just want to like kind of like, write some cool guitar stuff and create something cool and unique. But anyway, whatever. That's neither here nor there. But that's kind of like the same deal here, though. Is just like I just want to like make something cool. That's it. And like no, like whatever. Although Joe was joking, like wouldn't it be hilarious if Action Chief was the thing that like broke big that all of us have done over the years.
You never know, though. You really don't.
Yeah.
I dig it.
It is a bit of a casino that way. Yeah. I mean, it's good. But it's also for me. I mean, we feel it's good anyway. But for me, it's also like it doesn't just do one thing, and I think that. It seems like has to be like a prerequisite these days, I guess. I don't know.
For what? For a hit record?
Or just like to fucking win the lottery of people's attention.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Because there's two, like, it's like three kind of quick rockers and two like Joycean epics.
Right.
And I love them. Like, I mean, to me, a Sharper Future is like I said, it's like stripper tempo until it isn't.
Yeah.
But it did feel like a little, almost like, and I mean this is a compliment, I think you'll take it as such, but like almost a little Patton-ish.
Oh, sure.
Like Mike
Patton.
Just,
I mean,
just that vibe that you don't know where it's going to quite go, but it's going to be something weird.
The king of the unexpected, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely moments that are just sheer brattiness in terms of arrangement. I mean, like, look, if you look at White Knuckle Incompetence, there's like movements to that song, it's like there's a whole album's worth of ideas in one song, and we're like, nope, that's one song, and it's going to be like almost 10 minutes. All right.
Yeah. Could have broke it down into an LP, I suppose.
I mean, we consider it an LP, but I guess since it's under 32 minutes, it's an EP.
Oh, really? Was that the rule?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, because I was really upset that I think it was like Spotify or something. It was like just the solos EP. I'm like, EP, fuck off.
Make you just want to hum for like 3 minutes.
Right. Just throwing some feedback at the end of a song.
It wasn't indulgent enough as it was. It has a big old EP above just the solos. I'm like, EP? So we consider it an album.
Yeah, it sounds like an album. It feels like an album.
Yeah, it's like, what are you going to do? It's like, what do you throw on throw on some nonsense at the end? There's already enough nonsense.
That's enough of that.
More than enough nonsense. I mean, if we go by song titles, we have enough song titles for like 5 Action Chief records. So.
Nice.
I really like the title to "I Don't Need You."
Oh yeah, to show me how to fuck this up.
Show me how to fuck this up. It's like, that is perfect.
Yeah,
I almost thought, I thought that would be a great podcast title, like name.
Yeah. I don't need your help with it. I'm perfectly capable of screwing it up on my own. Thank you very much. That's I'd say like every one of the songs, there's been some degree of delight or conversation that has come from that, or some circumstance. I'm trying to remember, like, well, White Knuckle Incompetence came from me. I'm trying to remember where I just was, ranting about something and just talking about like the gross ineptitude of, I don't know, whoever it was, and it's just like, they're just sitting there, this steering wheel full of white knuckle incompetence, and everyone started losing their shit. And that ended up being, and then a Sharper Future. I think I saw that in an ad or something, like a billboard or something. I can't remember. It was like a Sharper Future. What does that mean? It was like a knife store or something. I don't know. Great joke about to tell you. And Envy's All the Rage is All Joe. I don't know where he got that from, but I was like, that's good. That's good. WWC&D is another Joe one. It's open to interpretation what the CN in that is, depending on the mood, right?
But I made one connection.
I was gonna say, you may know one of them, but it's supposed to be open to interpretation.
Yeah.
But we have so many song titles, it's absurd. Some of them may become songs because it's sort of like one of those things where it's like, well, the idea was to track this like it was right around Riot Fest last year. I remember Riot Fest was going on the weekend we were tracking. And so whenever that happens, like September or August or something. So it's been almost a year. And there was we weren't really sure at the time. Like, I think we'd done like 3 Secret Friend shows. We played like the state fair. We played this brewery thing and whatever. But it was sort of like trying to figure out like, well, what's this going to look like? You know, how does everything? It wasn't until we like basically Secret Friends I'm talking about. I just shifted over to the other band. It wasn't until we got asked by our friends from Oakland, where I'm from, Glowing Brain, to play a show. We're like, well, yeah, maybe we'll book something else as well. And then we played a few shows with Lung and kind of gradually got back into like, well, things are permanently changed now. And this is either important to you or it isn't. And if it isn't important to you, I'd fully get why bands are going to stay back and not do it.
Right.
But if it's important to you, then you just have to figure out a way to make it work. And you have to feel like what you're comfortable with, because it's very clear that culturally we've decided that, COVID's over. Which it doesn't matter if you two guys and I feel that way or not, doesn't matter.
Right.
If the listeners of this podcast feel that way, doesn't matter. The sum aggregate total of the United States of America has decided that, which is absurd. Because it isn't.
Right.
But that's what the cumulative cultural decision is, including the CDC's stated doctrine of live, laugh, love.
Right.
But
we're done with it, you know?
Right.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's not a thing anymore. And even though so it's like, all right, well then how important is it to you?
Right.
And for someone like me, it's like, well, I wouldn't necessarily say it's my raison d'etre, but it's a huge part of my life. And it's something that I'm going to continue to do until I can't do it anymore.
Right.
And so then there's been this slow gradated process of, we did those dates with Lung, we did those dates with Service, who were incredible. And we have stuff coming up in September, I guess. I don't know when you guys are planning on releasing this. I don't know if I should say anything about it, but yeah, but we have something coming up in September, which is pretty cool. And it's just kind of gradually been like, you know, longer and longer, and that's it. But like during that time period where nothing was happening, I was like, wow, it would be cool if Action Chief got to live. And just we could like flight up the flag and see if anyone salutes, you know, and just put out this like cool thing that basically no human being was expecting unless they had played in the band. They'd be like, what is this?
Nope. It's totally cool, and I'm glad you did it, and I hope there's more of it. And by the way, welcome to the podcast, Conan Neutron.
Welcome to the podcast. That's all the time we got, folks. Yeah.
Well, we got it in the first 20 minutes this time. I think that's pretty good for
that's
us.
actually pretty good. I think there's one of them where it was like
I think the last time it was the end of the episode before we introduced you.
Well, you know me, I start talking whether there's a microphone or not.
So you got a new project going on.
Tell us all about it. Yeah, just stick that at the beginning. Yeah, exactly. Act like I was prompted. Said it. Just sit back, take a nap when I finish talking. Oh yeah. So then I gave you an idea for the name. You know. Oh yeah, I think you asked about it. I just thought it was a cool sounding name.
It is.
It is a cool sounding name.
I wrote it down like years ago. I was like Action Chief because I was trying to think of like cool sounding words, and I was like, what Action? Like, I mean, Beast Fortress or things like, you know, where it's like, oh, that sounds cool. You know, all right.
Right on.
Do what I didn't do with Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Don't make a sentence-long band name that nobody wants to spell out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it'll be a lot easier on, billboards and shit like that.
Yeah, all the Action Chief billboards on the way. Exactly. Yeah. We did it for the billboard makers, really.
Right.
It's all about the
keep them in mind. Oh my God.
We always keep them close to our heart and their needs.
Right.
Plus, when someone's at the record store, right, you're right there.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Fucking A, right. Exactly. Yep. Not just A, but AC. It's like there's ABBA and screw everyone else.
Right.
You're right there.
Right. At the beginning of the phone book. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's I don't think I've ever had. Let's see. R Replicator. No. Mountain Vicious, middle of the alphabet. Victory and Associates, forget about it. That's the end. Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends, not bad.
You're getting close.
But it depends on, it should be in the C section. But some people put it in the A, and it's like, well, it's not. No, because the thing is, and this is like record store rules, and nobody cares if you don't work at a record store anymore. But it's like the difference between, like, if the band is called Alice Cooper Band, right, then it should go under A.
Right.
But if it's Jackson Brown, it should be under B.
No, I get it.
Yeah, last name first.
Yeah, but then and there's also the breathless indifference that actually comes from unknown commodities as well, where people just don't give a shit at all. But like,
here's the Dewey Decimal System when you need it.
Right, exactly. But I think when you've ever worked at a record store and like you have these rules stuck in your head for forever, and that's my one and only retail job I've ever had, and that was at 17.
Yeah,
but I still to this day I'm like, that's misfiled every time we go somewhere.
I always give my kid shit because he works at a record store at Half Price Books in Kansas City, and they always have these awesome like band lists on the little plastic tags. It's like, oh, Mr. Bungle, Brockhampton, like all these bands are listed, and they never have those bands. They're there.
There's never one in there. I'm like, just get rid of the tag. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
The WOG makes those tags. I noticed this because I'm like, these are all bands you liked.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, yeah, it helps alphabetize, but it's really false advertisement.
Exactly,
you know what? It was like that there before he got there, though.
Oh, was it?
And it used to piss me off then too.
Like, oh, Black Flag!
I thought I was gonna get. Yeah.
Well, and there's always the thing that I pre-internet days working the record store that always got me was when you just didn't know. You're like, is that the name of a dude or is that the name of like the band? Like, what? Yeah. I'm not sure.
I don't know who this is.
I don't know. Like,
right. Marilyn Manson did it right because it's pretty much the same place either way.
Yeah, they're both M's, so it's fine. Yeah, you're not both MAs too at both that.
So I wonder if they thought about that right in the middle. Yeah,
probably not.
They're not going to fuck it up.
Fucked up lots of other stuff though. Hey, everybody!
Hey, whoa.
Hey.
I worked at Camelot Music for several years. I wasn't the cool music store guy, but it was a music store gig.
I worked at Tower Records, which in Berkeley was probably the 4th best record store out of 4, to be clear.
Yeah.
So I didn't work at the cool record store. I just worked at a record store.
Yep.
But people would come into our tower, not because it was cool, but because they wouldn't get recognized. Like, because we had the lamest clientele ever. And also, but we did have a good zine selection. Zines. We had plenty of zines. And people come in and do that. And all the, it is Berkeley. So in the 90s, you can imagine who all would be coming in. But yeah, all of them came in and, bought Johnny Cash CDs from me and stuff.
Right.
Whatever. I didn't care about most of them, but they were nice, like whatever. Like pop punk wasn't really my thing at that time. But, Rancid, Green Day, all those guys came in all the time.
No, nice. Yeah.
Nice. We'd have people come in every now and then, but we were like in Springfield, Missouri, so it's
it's not a thriving metropolis full of rock and roll fans necessarily. Yeah,
right. We'd get like the Branson Stars would come in though, and that was
King's X.
Oh yeah,
King's X. Yeah, I met Doug came in and bought a Pothead T-shirt from me.
Yeah, they were a regional kind of band, The Urge maybe.
But
the worst thing about being at a record store in Berkeley was the Grateful Dead fans. That was just the worst. Like the trust fundarians that would come in with their crappy dreadlocks and their dad's platinum card. It's like, oh god.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed. I went to Vintage Vinyl in St. Louis just the other day, and they had a great selection, but they're all like reprints. They're all like new records, like $30. It's like, well, yeah,
those reissues where it's like, oh, it's like 100 gram vinyl, and here's like a gatefold, and blah 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 blah.
Right. Oh, there's there's Fugazi. There's and I mean, yeah, it's great, but I don't want to pay $30 for a record. I want a used record. Right. And I'm digging through the stacks. Man, I barely found like anything. I did find Billy Thorpe, Children of the Sun for like $3. I was real proud of that.
I like the cheap bins.
Yeah, I do too.
Cheap bins are the jam, man. That's where you can find. And like back in the day, it used to be like you'd be like, "Hey, this looks like a neat looking record cover. I'll check this out." Sure,
right.
And then sometimes it would be great, and sometimes it wouldn't. But you didn't. Right. You paid $1 for it, so it didn't really matter that much.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I bought like Gary Wright's Love Is Alive. It looks rough. I don't know about the disc, but I was like, man, it's $2. If one song plays on this.
Good enough.
Good.
This album's seen some shit.
Right.
Shit that you don't even want to know about.
Right.
I think my favorite score was Mott the Hoople, like all the young dudes. And it was like the cover was just beat to shit, had cigarette burns on it. And I'm like, yes, this is like character on this fucker. I like this one.
Probably lick the cover and get high.
Yeah, I was going to say, imagine what that record's been through, right?
Tapping on the table, all the cocaine falls out.
Those dudes had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 records. 7 records.
Wow. Yeah.
I didn't know they had that many.
1969 to 1974. Yeah. I mean, that's the most I've ever thought about their albums, other than, the songs I know from them.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't know about them really if it weren't for Bowie.
Yeah.
Of course not. Yeah.
Bowie tried to sing.
I had man, it was pretty dumb. A few years back, they played Turner Hall in Milwaukee across town. And Crover actually texted me and was like, "Hey, you're going to go see Mott the Hoople?" I'm like, "Christ, I didn't even know they were playing." Or I made some
or alive.
And then I was
They
like,
were alive.
yeah. That was probably more like what my response was. Yeah. And then he's like, "You should go." I'm like, yeah, I should. But I was like, "Oh, I don't want to go to a show alone, like on a Tuesday or whatever it was."
Yeah.
And I just was like, "Brr," and didn't. And now I kind of wish I would have. It would have been cool to see this guys play.
Yeah.
So, moral of that story is go
see
them.
Go see the band on a Tuesday or whatever.
God, there's so many bands that I wish I had seen that I will never get another chance to see.
Yeah.
It just,
I've had people, I'm not going to name names, but I've had people in certain cities that have like been like, "Oh man, when are you going to play? When are you play? You got to play. And then we're like, "Hey, we're playing then." "Oh, I'm out of town."
Yeah. Can't make it.
And that definitely didn't happen at least a dozen times on this last tour in June either.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I love is like after the show's over, I was like, "Wait, I didn't even know you were playing." Like all these messages. "I just moved here. Like I'm here like on business. I didn't even know you were playing." And I was like, I don't know what more I can do to make people aware.
Right.
Of
if you follow me. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, but the thing is, is it going to be shown to them? I don't know. Maybe not. Apparently not. Because that happened like every single night. And one of them was literally like a friend from another band that had moved from Baltimore like that day. So, okay, that's a pretty extreme example. But but that's just, it's like a lot of things. If you're in an outfit that was around in like the before times, I'm not talking about COVID, I'm talking about pre-social media, and you already had some degree of success, I think you're doing fine. But everyone else is just like, it's hard, man. It's not defining your people. It's like, you can't engage with them unless like you're doing, making the mark, saying the sign, sacrificing the animal at the proper altar on, the face of the moon. Like, and the rules change like weekly, and it's crazy. And I don't understand why, like, it's just an untold story, because every band I know has this problem. Right. And, some of them get around to be like, "Oh, here's like a funny cat picture. Oh, by the way, we're playing these dates," and like here's their tour itinerary, right? It's like, so you have to like literally fool the system,
trick the algorithm.
And I would just be much more appreciative if they were up front, like, "Hey, we'll show this to your people if you pay this amount of money."
Yeah.
Right. Okay, cool. Well, that's a upfront exchange. You can argue about the prices, you can argue about the ethics of it, but like, okay, so there's like, all right, let's target Facebook, why don't we?
Yes, let's do that.
So 2.3 thousand people are friends, following or liking or whatever the hell it is you're supposed to do. Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends, right?
Right.
If we were like, "Hey, we're playing," like, let's use the last tour, for example, Indianapolis, Louisville, Nashville, and Atlanta. Those are the cities we're playing. If they were like, "Cool, it'll be $30, and like all the people that follow your band in those areas, or all the people personally, will see that you are doing that," I'd be like, "Great, done. $30.
Sure.
I mean, that's like a gallon of gas,
cheaper
right?
Than, so. Yeah, cheaper than yeah.
But that's not what they do. That's not what they
No.
do. They just sort of like act like, "Oh yeah, well, everyone gets to see your stuff. I guess they just don't care about you." And it's like, no, that's not true.
Yeah, exactly. And I see shit like pop up all the time of like friends that I've had for years or whatever. And it's like, I don't see a post of theirs or anything for a long time. All of a sudden it pops up.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit, I forgot I was friends with that person.
Yeah, oh, snap.
Why aren't they?
Right. And then you go back and check up. Wait, they've been posting a shit ton
They've been
and I
posting
didn't know.
all along.
Yeah.
Why are they not, in my shit? And
then there's other people that I
are.
see. Yeah, I see literally every thought that comes out of their head, apparently, that is put on the internet.
Mhm.
Where it's like,
But I swear to God,
I could do with a few less of those posts, but it's either like block or unfollow, and it's like it's not at that level, but it's like, man, so much take the computer away from you for a while.
Just scroll.
Yeah. You were onto something though with the pet thing. Like seriously, if I post a picture of a pet, boom, lights up.
Oh yeah,
on
forget
Facebook.
Forget about it.
I get shit tons of notices on that.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, who's good? Have you ever had Daisy or Kate from Lung on? I can't remember.
No, but I have been listening to a lot of Lung this summer.
They're so
man, so good.
But Daisy is like the freaking algorithm whisperer. I mean, you have to if you're on tour like half a year, right? You have to know how to do it. But they've gotten really good. But I mean, they kind of have to.
We're clearly shit at it, but
yeah, exactly. I mean, likewise. Look. I mean, I have my few moments now and again, but like
right, and yeah, it's gotten to the point where I'm like, oh, it's been a couple of weeks since I went on the podcast Facebook. I should probably check in.
Yeah.
Well, and yeah, and there's a lot of places to go with that. It never seems to engage the way you want to. Like since I switched Patreon Protonic to Patreon, the whole thing is I don't like doing gatekeeped exclusive stuff at all.
Mm-hmm.
That bothers me. So it's this early access, right? Like you get access to the shows a week earlier. So if you really want to hear it, it's going to cost you $1.
Right.
And then like that's like ultimately $12 a year. Pretty goddamn good, I think.
Right.
But then, and people, it's funny because when presented that information, like, now wait, I'm like, all right. It's literally $1. How much do you pay for your phone bill? How much do you pay for your ISP?
Right.
Whatever. If this is a show you really enjoy, it's $1. Like, I mean, I know some shows that like they start their Patreon at like $10 or something. And
10,
it's like,
15.
So I've got like the Bernie Sanders model. You get a lot of people.
We don't go on Patreon because we're afraid of how many people will say no to $1.
Right. It's somehow more than you think. And like, and it's a bummer.
Yeah.
Like, cause in your worst case scenario of your mind, you're like, well, maybe a tenth and will. No, try like 2%.
Right.
Which, I mean, luckily Protonic, because the audience has grown enough that it's still like, whatever, between like $120 to $200 a month that comes in, so I can't complain at all. But it's just hilarious where it's like, why is that unacceptable? Yet like you don't think twice about like a $5 half calf latte, blah blah blah. Anyway, whatever. This is a different the point of what I was going with all that is that like, so I had Dan Kaminsky of DeCroixson on Thursday, and just because like rather than like immediately do all my show stuff, I was like, I'm gonna sit down and watch Better Call Saul or, whatever the hell I was up to. Yeah. And I just forgot to make the YouTube version because there's the audio and the YouTube version unlisted. And then people just started sharing it around. Here you go. Check this out. It's awesome. And so on one hand, it's like, well, it's cool because people are excited about the episode and they want to hear it and they're excited about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's also like, okay, well, the model is usually like you don't get it immediately for like unless you're a patron, but all right, whatever. And it's just, and to a certain degree now, and I can say this now because I'm doing fine financially, but like there was a time when I was like, wow, this is going to overcomplicate something that's incredibly simple, and that's a bad idea. And it has. But I will say during those spring months in 2020, it also literally paid the power bill and like, paid for groceries and like, which, that coincided with the show becoming, finding more of its audience because people suddenly, and we've talked about this before, but like all these people, they're like, I don't have time for podcasts. Like, got time now, bitch.
Yeah, I'm feeling it too. Like in terms of finding guests, it's getting a little bit harder to get people that can come on. Like,
because people people are back to doing stuff, you know, and it's like, you have to plan it out. Like, I mean, I'm on Moving Extravaganza, right? I was like, I had to be like, hey, there's like going to be like about 3 weeks in the summer that I can't do anything. Like, I'm going to be on tour, you know? So like, whatever you want to do, cool. If you want to do episodes without me, it's fine. But just FYI, I'm not going to be trying to do that from the van.
And I think we finally just decided, you know what? Fuck, we need to get out and see some shows anyway. We're not getting paid for this.
Right.
We've been doing it long enough that people will wait for us to come back around.
Yeah, and then it'll be a nice thing that we're like, oh, crap, new episode. Cool. You know, like they'll be excited for it.
Yeah. Well, and I think my biggest I guess my biggest compensation is just in cool points. It's like earlier I messaged like Freddie Herrera, and I was like, oh, hey man, my daughter's been plugging away at a guitar for like 2 years and just never found her groove, and she's about to give up. And I taught her like the intro to Santa Monica, and she played it, and she's like, I did a thing on guitar.
That's great.
And she went upstairs, she like played it, and she figured it out. Like, she figured out the whole song except for the solos in like one night. And I was like, that's awesome. So I messaged.
He said, I got this record called Action Chief. It's just the solo, so it'll get that sort of. I had to.
So I messaged him and told him that. And he's like, that's fucking rad. Right on. Tell her she's rad. I was like, well, at least I can like message the guy who, plays that song. Tell him thank you.
Right.
Yeah. Fucking A. Why not?
Hi back. And it's like, that keeps me going.
Well, that's a good point too, because as a musician too, and I'm sure with any artist, but like when you get to something over the transom like that, like that's nice, and that can, you never know what's going on in someone's life, right?
Right.
You never know what's going on in someone's life. You don't know what kind of challenges they're facing. You don't know what mood they're in, what horrible tragedies are happening around them. Yeah. So like, always send the note, like send the email, like send the private, even if it's just like, hey man, really digging like the record right now or something along those lines. Always send that. And I try to do the same as well, because I know, there've been times I've been like in a funk, like just like in a bad spot. And then like I've just gotten some really nice, kind message over the transom. I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Right. I sometimes struggle with like, okay, am I crossing the fanboy line if I'm doing what I mean?
Am I punishing them? Yeah. Well, there is a level of discomfort that can be created by people assuming too much familiarity sometimes.
Right.
But it's not like instantaneous. And also the other thing to remember too is people be busy. It's like, just because they didn't respond back immediately doesn't mean because they didn't appreciate it. Maybe they just got distracted with something else. Happens to me constantly. You kidding me?
Oh yeah.
So, but I will say, anytime someone, and this happens more probably with Protonic than anything else, I'll get like a really long email, like a really like long involved one. I always sit down and I read every piece of it, and I try to respond immediately because I know what's good for me. What's going to happen is if I don't respond immediately, it's just going to sit there, and then it'll be an impossible task for me to finish that email. And then they're also like, oh, this guy's, that was stupid of me to send that. And it's not stupid of them to send that.
Right.
So I try to respond back like, that's actually something I picked up from the Fugazi guys. They're like, hey, it's better to send something out like immediately, even if it isn't like as much as in depth as you'd like, because then you never know what's again, on the other side, you never know what's happening in the other person's life either.
Right.
Yeah.
So
just to like
that's how to do correspondence, apparently. But I mean, the same thing would work for work emails, probably. But that's less exciting.
Yeah, there have been plenty of times though when I've sent somebody an email and I was just never heard, and I'm like,
Yeah, and then you like, there's that moment you feel foolish, whether it's justified or not. It's probably not. You feel like, oh, that was foolish of me to do that, and it wasn't. It wasn't.
But then sometimes they'll surprise you too. Like it'll be like 3 months. It'll be like, hey, oh, sorry, I meant to get back to you, and I just got caught up in shit. And yeah, we'd totally love to come on. Well, wow, what?
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, that has happened so many times over the years, and there is like nobody wants to feel like the Fuller Brush man, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to feel like they're sticking the foot in the door and like not letting the housewife close
Right.
it. You know, just a parochial tableau. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's something we've almost been trained culturally to be. I'm going to try to choose my words carefully. To immediately move on to the next thing, to constantly be consuming content, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And not in the way for those that actually have things like ADD, but we're treated that like react culture and whatnot, just to immediately move on. Right? It's got to be like, and there's value and favor towards things that are already established topics, or you know, and whether that comes from them being like pushed by marketing, or whether it's like a zeitgeist thing, whatever. But we're taught there's more intrinsic value to that than there is to just literally person-to-person communication. Where I come from, and the culmination of punk rock DIY or whatever, is to use these tools to establish immediate connection. So that's why it's interesting to me that, you know, like most of the musicians and creative types that I like a lot, they do on whatever level make themselves available for people. It doesn't mean they're available all the time,
right?
But like they make themselves available to people. They let people come up to them and tell their story, or ask for the thing that they want to ask for, or whatever. And you know, there's a grace to it, and there's a back and forth, and you know, in some cases it's even sort of like, well, tell me about yourself. What's your band like? You know,
right.
What's your zine like? Where can I find your podcast? And even if there's no intention of following up whatsoever, it reminds people that like people don't often remember what is said, but they'll never forget the way that someone makes you feel.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And have that feeling of like, yeah, someone you like love and respect, or you know, as an influence or whatever, and to be like, wow, they were cool as hell. That's awesome. Way to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think a lot of people assume it's harder to get through to a lot of these people than it actually is. And it's like, people ask, like, well, how do you get these people? And I'm like, I ask.
I ask,
you know,
and they say yes or they say no, and that's about it.
It's not as complicated as you think it's going to be. I mean, sometimes we have to jump through a couple of hoops, but generally, just ask them.
Yeah, I mean, what's the worst thing someone's going to do is say no?
Yeah,
like just,
right. Exactly.
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah, and like, you know, the trick is not taking it personally. It isn't an indictment on your thing,
right?
Or your ideas, or you as a person. It's nothing to do with that.
But it can also make you feel really great when, you know, they do respond. It's like Justin Pearson. I bring him up all the time. Just like, you know, I share anything from like 31G Records or anything that he's doing. I mean, I've been a big fan of his for years. I thought he was, you know, kind of untouchable as far as a guest was concerned. Just invited him.
Yeah.
But yeah, every time I share anything on 31G or anything, he's like, thanks, man. Well, you know, I was like, shit, that's amazing to me. You know, it makes me feel great.
Artists, they're just like you and me, except for art.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's you know, not like I'm big icon or whatever, but like when people want to engage with me about whatever,
shut your mouth.
I try to, I try to like, you know, I try to engage with that, and you know, and it's conversation, right? It's a community, and there's nothing. I mean, that's something like that's something that you're never going to be able to get that when you have these. Like, you're never going to be able to have that conversation with Kanye West or something. Right? Would you want to? Like, you know, maybe like you put out like a song or two that's all right, but it's like, oh, it's so tiresome.
Yeah, I've been asked that before, even by my kids. Like, so if you could have like, you know, Kanye in her show, would you? I'm like, probably not.
Yeah, it's.
I don't think
because he's going to be on whatever he's on. Yeah, I mean, whatever. And like, just us talking about him means he's winning, which is terrible. But like, I'm just using him as an example.
Well, I mean, he's fine. He can do his thing. You know, he's fine. You know,
very happy Kanye to all who celebrate. Correct.
Yes. Right. Whatever. Kanye away. You know, do your thing. That's cool. Just not my jam. You know, and I do like some of his old shit though. I really do.
Yeah, some of his older. Like School Spirit, that was a cool shit.
I like that
one.
Yeah. I mean, and it's what it is. You know, like it's not to like indict famous people for behaving the way they do. We don't necessarily know what their struggles are or whatever, but
Right.
I don't know. There's a point where it becomes being a dick, and that's a very fine line for sure.
Yes. So God bless them for doing what they do, and
Absolutely.
playing fans when they do, and everything. We appreciate them. We appreciate you, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys. I mean, how like whenever it's always a blast whenever we come on, whatever we get up to. And like again, you're maybe the first people to ask about Action Chief. So I think people are just like, here's my take on it.
Mm-hmm.
Is that I think for some people it's just more Conan Neutron stuff, which is, I get it, but I don't think that's fair to the rest of the guys.
It's not,
and I think that's just a horribly cynical way of looking at things. But I get it. I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like, and I've said this before, it's like after doing this show for like 2 or 3 years, it's so hard to keep up with everybody.
Sure.
And everything that's going on. And I feel such guilt, when like somebody releases an album that I didn't like comment on immediately or like share or, and I try to keep that stuff up. But then it's like, and I kind of had that thought for a second, but then I listened to it and I was like, oh no, this is not just Conan stuff.
That's awesome.
Well,
and and like not there's anything wrong with Conan stuff. I'm a big fan of Conan stuff, but like it's but it's hard. There is a burden of proof somehow on newer creative enterprises.
Yeah.
That I feel is actually unfair and probably unhealthy to the human psyche.
Absolutely.
That you have to immediately do. Like, do you guys remember the old Onion? It was like a series that they do. It was called Justify Your Existence.
Yeah.
They would do to bands. I loved it, by the way.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fantastic. But like, I feel like by nature of being something new, there is a little bit of a Justify Your Existence.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Show me what you got.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the big head. Yeah, but I think that it's I'm not sure if like younger folks are feeling that, but it's something that I feel all the time.
Yeah.
Well, and I think I've talked about it. I can't remember who it was we talked about it with. Just like there was a time when newer artists were given more time to grow into their role.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, 100%. And that's not the case anymore. It's like if you don't, it's not even this is the first album. If you don't wow them by the first song, it's on to the next thing.
Yep. The hook.
Whatever. On to the next.
Yep.
And that's that's hard. It doesn't reward risk taking at all.
Right.
Some of the most legendary acts out there you probably wouldn't have heard of.
Yeah.
If they hadn't been allowed to develop.
Oh yeah. I mean, God, like, and there's some. Did you ever hear that first Alice Cooper band record, like the second one? Yeah, it's not that good. It's fine.
It's fine.
But that's a band that, like, I mean, I think their best record is their third or fourth record, and like that just isn't the case anymore. Like, you're lucky if you get to. I mean, unless you're someone that just throws all that to the wind and is fine with just building things as they go, but like. It just seems there's a tacit frame that it's a pointless thing to do, as opposed to just rewarding people for the act of creation and connection.
Yeah. And
again, it comes down to the fact that, like, think about like who's monetizing what, and why certain things are brought into the zeitgeist the way they are. And I could get into specific examples, like bands that suddenly appear, quote unquote, out of nowhere. And it's like, oh yeah, but they had rich parents. And like, there's all these reasons why, like, that's why we're hearing all about them right now, and that's kind of always been the case. But the problem now is like the psychological warfare of again, a thing that you are not familiar with, feeling like, well, why does this have to exist? Right. Like having that like sort of cynical reaction to it. And I think it's not how everyone feels, but I think it's sort of like without maybe the aggression part of it, it's sort of like, well, I don't have to care about that. And then the worst possible thing I've seen with that is like, well, since I'm not like, okay, so there's a band, then there's 4 people in it. And I know two of them from other bands, and two of them I don't. And if I hear something I don't like, well, that must be the two people I'd never heard of, because that like that's the reason why I don't like it.
Yeah,
Right.
And, like it, and it's
like that guitar player on Action Chief sucks, man.
yeah, who's this prick? Yeah, I'm only here for Tony Ash. Well, he's a great bass player. Yeah, I mean, like, but it doesn't matter. Like the particulars of it don't matter as much. It's just that I find it so exhausting.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
It's exhausting as a fan, but for me, it's more exhausting as an artist. Like I'll throw Neutron Friend stuff into the void until the day I die, right? Like, or until it sucks, one or the other. And hopefully I'll have the good grace to realize if it starts sucking. But that's because that's like a whole, Neutron cinematic universe thing going, right? Like there's a whole, like, there's enough of a sustainable cloud of people around it and stuff that it justifies keeping it around and going and moving forward.
Yeah.
And like, it may not be at the level that I want to, or that I would like it to be, or whatever.
Right.
But it's got its own language. It has it has support and fans, and look, I've been in bands that don't have that, and it is lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a lonely place to be, and it's harder to, again, justify your existence. How do you justify your existence? Well, we like it.
Right.
Maybe someone else will, and ultimately that's, and if you're trying to find your existence based on what other people like, that's a tough road to hew as well. But it also isn't like, people treat it like it's just a vacuum.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, if all you need is fulfillment of making something cool, then why don't you just make stuff and never share it with anyone? Just make stuff on your own.
Right.
Right. Well, I mean, I kind of felt that way this spring, getting into Wet Leg,
Yeah.
that band. I was just like, what's the big hit? Chaise Longue, what they do. And I was like, oh man, that's such a good song. And it's so hooky at the beginning and everything like that. But then I immediately started kind of feeling bad for them. It's like, they're going to have a hard time sucking anybody into a riff like they did on that title track. And they're a good band.
Yeah.
And they're a great band, But I was like, oh my God, but it seems like the time frame. It seems like, where they are and where they're living and with everything that's going on with social media and everything, it fit into that slot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a shame that they couldn't have the same kind of come up as a band like Cheap Trick.
Yeah.
Or, any of these others that just like build on and build on and build on their talent. Cause just, it'll end up being a one-hit wonder. I mean, I'm afraid.
Sure.
I'm afraid. I'm not saying that they deserve that at all.
No, not at all.
But yeah, it's, you can kind of see the atmosphere that it's born in,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just pretend like I'm in that world anyway, because to me, I am. So it's like,
exactly. That's all
it's for the people it's for. I mean, I know, but I know there's some people that are like, oh, well, it's never going to get better than Art of Murder. So like, whatever. And it's like, well, are you sure? Because I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's just the thing. It's like, who you're appealing to, when you talk about the people.
Well, and like, look, there's always the bands that have like the wild outlier in their discography that becomes, huge hit. Yeah. Cheap Trick, for instance, The Flame, right? From another time. It's 1,000 years ago, but
that's how I got turned on to them. And I lived like 40 miles from Rockford.
Yeah, well, exactly, but it's like that's like
they
one of their
on
worst
TV.
songs to me.
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's
not even their song.
No, it's a freaking exactly. It isn't even indicative of like what they do or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Not at all.
But then also you have like, okay, so Lord, right? That Royal song, good song, right? I couldn't tell you a single other song though. What other song? I don't know.
I couldn't either.
One more maybe. Gory and Gore.
Yeah, like maybe, I don't know, maybe like whatever. I'm not it's not really my genre, And it isn't to say that like it shouldn't exist. I'm just saying that like, I don't know, fine, like whatever, like. But it's also like, why was that song ubiquitous? Oh, it's a really good song. I know plenty of really great songs,
right?
Tons of them that like don't get that kind of reaction. So I don't know, what is it? Like sometimes it's alchemy, sometimes it's chaos theory.
Right.
I think it is a little bit of both. You're right. There are a lot of I mean, we talk about it all the time. There's so much fucking good stuff out there.
Oh,
And I just get so discouraged when I hear people saying, it all sounds the same. Nothing's
music's
good
terrible
anymore.
now. Nothing's good. Yeah, it's like,
I'm like, you are not trying.
Yeah,
at all.
exactly. No, that's it's so just irritating to hear that rhetoric, because it's just not true, and it's like it's the problems that we have we got rid of the major labels. It's like, well, no, but the problem is all those mechanisms of gatekeeping are still there, and like what is being pushed on you isn't necessarily the best thing that's representative of that. It's just what's going to make them money,
right?
Like, and the fact that the people just dislocating a shoulder, patting themselves on the back for being so smart while they fall into the same trap. It's disappointing,
It is.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's almost just like, which one of these will make a good Jeep commercial, more than anything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. Is it used to be like, the whole cred thing. If you if you sold your music to commercial, you're selling out. You're selling out. And now all these, these, especially this like newer generations, like they don't know any other way. So like, oh man, if you got a song in an Apple commercial, you made it. That's great. You aspire to that.
Yeah. Weird. So weird.
Anyway, that's a weird.
think,
that's a weird alley to run down. I know
it is. Well, I'm just kind of deconstructing in my mind. I mean, do you think that like the whole COVID episode was just like a hitch in your giddy up? Was it a setback, or is it a part of the evolution? Do you think?
Oh boy. Well, all right. I'll tell you this much. Like my initial conceit of Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends. This is a creative project. The idea behind it is being for no set live lineup, and it's sort of just being based on creatively whatever I had going on at the time, and whatever those ideas were articulated. The idea was always, well, it can go up on the shelf for a long period of time and come back down, and it'll be exactly the same. So basically, I got to test that theorem because there was a solid, year and a half where there was like nothing. There was no Secret Friends stuff. Like after Dark Passengers came out, and that was great, and then there was just nothing. During that period that initial period where and everyone kind of be like, oh well, we all knew that it wasn't safe to blah blah. Nah, nobody knew shit, man.
Right.
Get over yourself. Like seriously, nobody knew anything. That we had to like cancel all the tour dates. I got laid off from my day job at the same time. That's when I started up doing Protonic like 6 days a week and starting the Patreon and all that. But like, I was just too angry to write for a really long time.
Yeah.
Like that's basically what it comes down to. And like there was more anxiety too, but it was mostly just being too angry. And then I definitely had a few moments where I was just like, I don't know, maybe that's over. Maybe I can't do that anymore. It was a good run.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like that's the only thing I have value of in my life, but like maybe I can't do that. And then one day, like after I'd started working again, sat down on my lunch break and I wrote The Commuter, the entire song. And I was like, hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Like that's this cooks. This is good. Okay. So I guess I can still do that again. And then it really just took the doing of it, and again, I created that song in an hour.
Wow.
And as any artist will tell you, some songs come easy, some songs don't come as easy. There's a song on Dark Passengers that, oh God, the cumulative hours spent on that song versus the output would be hilarious to figure out.
Go on.
Well, because I couldn't get it right. And then like I got to the point where it's like, hey, there's the finished song. Cool. I'm ready to record this. And I was like, you know what? I don't like this. And then I threw it all out and I started over again. And then I labored on that one. I changed the key and moved this around to that. Just jigged around with it. And then ultimately, like, I think the way it turned out is really cool. And I am glad that it came out the way it is. I had no interest in ever playing it again. And if somebody says it's their favorite song on the record, I kind of get chills up my spine. I'm like,
Interesting.
All right. Yeah, I like that one,
Right.
Academically. But
You scare me.
But it's just because that's just tied up with all my bullshit. It's tied up with all my like, I don't like working that way, but it's, the subject matter sort of lent itself to it. But for me, it was just like, I was like, no, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty fond of it. And I'm going to continue to do it if I can. And I did. So then it was like, all right, Misplaced Optimism, The Doomed, Competitive Grief. And then there's all the stuff that's going to be coming out next year. I guess it's going to be next year now. I mean, at this point, like we got a split with Lung. They were doing a split record.
Cool.
And that's really cool. And like we're, Kate sings vocals on like a duet on the Secret Friend song. And I'm doing some guitar and maybe vocal stuff on one of their songs, and Tony's on bass on one. Like it's going to be a real cool collab record. It's kind of palindromic in a way is the only way I can put it. I mean, this is going to be like, we're lucky spring 2023 stuff, right? But like we got that going. There's that Fight Math EP that I think I talked about last time I was on that like still hasn't actually happened yet, but it's that's all still in motion. And we got there's like a third of a new record recorded. Wow. And the other 2/3 are written and we just need to record it. Yeah, and it went from like nothing to everything.
Yeah.
And then just that little thing, what that Caterwall, what was that?
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, so exactly, and that's just Secret Friends, right? Which every time we put together a tour, like, oh shit, where are we gonna play? It's like, god damn, there's so much material, and it's not like, oh, here's the 3 good songs and a bunch of filler. It's like, oh no, this is all pretty good, and it's all like works live. So it's like, which ones are we going to do? Like which kids get to go on the boat? Like that level of thing when you're picking out. So, and then it's like, cool. And now we have 2 more records coming out like next year. And like a lot of those songs are pretty great too. Like everybody says this. Everybody always says this. But if the next Secret Friends full length, which again, to be clear, only 1/3 of it's recorded, but if it turns out half as good as I think it is, it's going to be the best record we've ever done. Objectively.
Cool. Wow. Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly. But like that's a good place to be, right? If you're actually doing, remains to be seen if it's the best work or not. Of course, everybody thinks everything they do is their best
right.
work. Of course, you think
that's
like
the place you want to be, though. You want your next one to be better than the last one. That's ideal. That's the idea of being your best self and everything. But there's that, and there's also Caterwall, right? Like Caterwall was great. For those not familiar, it was a 4-day festival in Minneapolis put on by myself and my label guy, Rainier, who runs Learning Curve Records, and we did all the work to do it in 2020, and everything on fire gif. Like it was just like a lot of things that didn't happen. So we picked up the pieces. Put it back together, mostly exactly how it was before. Added on another day, and we made a really cool thing. And a lot of people, it's like 52 bands or something. It's crazy.
And then for a lot of people, it was like this is my first show back. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Wow. Thank you for making this your first show back. That's really cool. And it was an amazing amount of work. But it was what we wanted it to be.
And that's all you guys. That's not somebody guiding the light at the end of the tunnel. That's not, record label. That's not, Sony backing it.
Right.
That's all you guys.
Yeah, there's no big money behind any of that. It's all like, strictly like just white knuckle DIY.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should be super proud of it.
Seriously. Well, it was... I'm stoked that we, it's like I never had any doubt necessarily, but I had a lot of anxiety.
No shit.
It's the best way I could put it. Because you never know, like anything can like go wrong at any time, right? And at a certain point you're like, there's so many spinning plates right now that like, how are we ever going to keep these going? But you just do. You find the way forward.
Well, and I mean, I think that's the difference too, is the drive. I mean, if you were like Rat in 1985, right. And you're, smoking a bubble of meth or whatever, you can always say, hey, the label will take care of it.
Right. Yeah, in this case, it's like, the label is just another dude. Like, it's just like, and like who's got the same challenges, if not similar challenges.
Right.
And I took it as a compliment, as he did, that like when people were like, wow, this seems like it was put on by by people with a lot more resources. Right. Like, well, thank you. But yeah, I assure you it isn't. So yeah.
You should be proud. Should be proud. Absolutely.
No,
Absolutely.
it did the thing we wanted to do.
Yeah,
too, right?
yeah.
And that's amazing. And it was great to be able to provide a space for people to have community happen. And we're going to do it again next year. Now that we've had like a few months to kind of like detox.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, RIP to our inboxes when we put in call for submissions because
Nice.
we have a bunch of bands that we asked last time that weren't able to do it, but like, hey, but let us know for next time. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then we have bands that want to come back. Everyone wants to come back, right? So, well, not I shouldn't say everyone. Most bands want to come back. So it's like, all right, I don't know. We'll have to figure that out.
Did you get a chance to play with the Seal Party boys?
We didn't.
No, you didn't go through.
It's a bummer because the weekend that they needed to book was basically the worst weekend you could possibly pick in the entire year for Milwaukee, and it was not for lack of trying. Like, it definitely was not for lack of trying, but it's this town is tough in summer.
Yeah. Kevin was even like, we'll see. We're trying.
Yeah,
I'd like to. Yeah.
I tried to pull a few rabbits out of my hat, and I was not able to deliver. I feel really bad about that. I was actually looking forward to playing with them too. And if I would have known that I wasn't going to deliver for them, I probably would have drove down to Kenosha to see them at least. But,
at least, yeah.
Unfortunately not. So I hope they had a good time beyond it. I don't know. I've been kind of scared to text them and be like, sorry, bro. But
I'm sure they would understand.
Sure.
Kevin's great. I mean, he's played in Secret Friends a bunch of times.
Yeah.
And I'm really stoked he has his own band now because like he's a very, very rich musical talent.
Yes.
He's so versatile, man.
Yeah.
Do you guys know Griddle? Do you know his old band Griddle?
Yeah. We've had Griddle.
No, of course. Yeah. For years, I was like, I gotta remember to check out Griddle. And then I finally saw them like, oh wow, they're fantastic. And that was right when like everyone got abducted into Jello's band.
Right.
Like I saw them like twice, I think, before like he had half his band stole away by Biafra.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah, man. Great voice, great, bluesy, soulsy stuff. But yeah, I bought Griddle's Klimt Favela off of their Bandcamp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Kevin, so I think you're the only person to have ever bought this record. I think we're going to turn it into an NFT for you. It's like, really?
That's the one with the blue. It's like the person with the wings, right?
Yeah. The City Made of Teeth is on there, and
yeah. I got that one.
Mm-hmm.
I got that one. Maybe he gave it to me, but it's good. They're all good. It comes with a comic book.
Yeah, and I'm still asking for that comic book. Chris McGrew's got I got like a 500 of them in my house. It's just like, I'll send you one. He hasn't done it yet, but he's busy. So
he is busy.
I'm glad people are busy.
They have that Live from Bohemian Grove album, which is
it's
actually Cafe de Nord. It's not big.
Right. Yeah, we talked about that on the show last time they were on.
Yeah. I listened to that one. Yeah, that was a good band, man. Like, so I'll make it up for him. I'm always spinning a lot of plates, but there's a lot of spinning plates around that time, and that was just for whatever reason the hardest weekend to book. Honestly, I tell bands that are coming through, like to Milwaukee, it's like if it's between like July 1st to like August 20th, don't bother. Go somewhere else.
Right.
Because even if I can book you something, no one's going to show up. Everyone's just like running around to the Dells or at a wedding or whatever.
Right.
Summerfest is happening.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bummer. I don't like it, and I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it until it happened to me. Until like I was like, what, really? Like no one's showing up to this? Like this is crazy.
I almost took my family on a vacation to the Dells like last year. I haven't been there since I was a kid.
Oh, the Dells are cool. And that's not me trash talking the appeal of doing those things. I'm just saying that universally people are just not going to shows.
Yeah. God, I haven't been there in like 20 years though. Do they still have like the haunted house and like the shooting gallery?
Oh yeah, and like the freaking like everything's got like a roller coaster or a water slide or like whatever. Yeah, it's all still
Xanadu Future Home. It's like Branson, Matt, except without country music. but there's probably a lot more.
I've only driven through Branson. I've never hung out there, but yeah, it's got. My understanding is it's similar vibes.
Yeah, much like that.
The best line I've ever heard on Branson was on The Simpsons. And like there was like an episode where Bart and all his friends like swiped the family car, and they just took off and they went through Branson. And one of the kids asked, "Where are we?" And Bart said, "Branson, Missouri. My dad says it's just like Vegas if Ned Flanders won it or ran it. God damn."
You edit that out and make yourself sound more clever.
Yeah, I'll make myself sound cool. Jesus Christ. But it's like the best description.
Want to do another take on that one?
Branson. Yeah. My dad said, and make sure you guys laugh when I get it out.
Okay.
All right.
Dad says it's just like Vegas if Ned Flanders ran it. There we go.
Nice. Well done.
That whole thing staying in.
Yeah. It's better that way. That's too funny not to run the whole thing.
I was going to say, although, like, that is the advantage of not doing it live, but it is.
I remember that episode. And it was like they were leaving, and then Nelson in the back of the car, just when you think he wasn't going to do it, bam, Moon River. He's talking about Andy.
Yeah, Andy Williams.
Yes.
Jesus, they'd rake it in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, like, hey, you know what? Respect for those that, like, if that's your deal, good on you. I mean, like, what is it? Who was it that, like, didn't stop having hits in America, but like went to Mexico and became big in Mexico? Bill Haley, if I remember correctly. Bill Haley in his later years, like, just like went to Mexico and became like, oh, we're the biggest band in Mexico.
Oh, wow.
Like, I made all these records that were like, yeah, it's wild, man. Like, and then like there's all these records that are like either in Spanish or like mixed or whatever, and they're only like nobody knows about them here, but like they're pretty famous there. Like, it's pretty wild.
I gotta study that. That's like documentary type shit.
Yeah. And it's not unfortunately a very ultimately a super happy story, because like there was some problems along the way or whatever. But if I remember correctly, and I may be remembering this wrong, the Comets, and I don't think Bill Haley was involved, but it was the Comets, had like a residency at Branson, and I think it was like a Dick Clark thing, like it was like the American Bandstand Theater or some such thing.
I remember that, yeah.
But it was like not Bill Haley, but it was like the other dudes or something. I shouldn't speak extemporaneously about things I clearly have no retention of. But yeah,
right.
But it checks out.
I believe it was Bill Haley that he was like had like a did spend a lot of time like running around in Mexico, like touring there and having a good old time. So good for him.
When you said it went kind of bad, I was just waiting for it to be like a William S. Burroughs type story.
Oh yeah, not that bad. Yeah, exactly.
Like, Jesus Christ, shit happens in Mexico.
Let's play William Tell. No.
Yeah, but apparently that was it was I took German, so I couldn't tell you what the Spanish translation of Bill Haley in the Comets was, but like they had like some Spanish language take on the twist or whatever that was like pretty big. like El Twisto. But yeah, like it's this crazy like era that people don't think about here. Yeah, and I think about that of just like the idea of like someone like, I'm gonna run off to the Philippines and go like chill out there. Okay, yeah, good for you. That's
yeah.
You're not like trying to evade prosecution for something, I guess.
Yeah, we know a couple people who've done that.
Evaded prosecution?
Well, just evading America, I guess.
Yeah, well,
right.
Like breaking Japan is a big thing. Shit. You see those guys? Yeah, well, that's a cheap trick. Budokan.
Yeah, I'll go camp out in some other country and just go tour around there for a while.
Shit,
great.
yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
Crowds of like 200,000 or whatever.
Yeah. Sounds all right.
Yeah.
I'm in.
All right.
I was wondering. I'm in. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Why not?
I guess we'll book you.
I guess the other thing, since we talked last, I kind of went from being featured guest on Moving Extravaganza to being a co-host. So yeah, because I wasn't doing enough crap, right? But
Right.
Yeah, I got a really busy, fun movie show I'm on.
Yeah, what was the movie last time? I just saw it.
Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems. Yes, I was going to comment on
Uncut
that.
Gems, as that one chick says. Yeah,
It's a good movie.
she has this funniest way of pronouncing gems. In
Uncut Gems.
Interview. I was like, where did you get that from?
Oh
It's like an alien trying to do a Valley Girl accent. Like, I don't understand what you were trying to do, but I love that the internet like caught wind of it and fell in love with it, because that's a rare time of like, no, that is legitimately bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a cringy movie, but great. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm gonna listen to that episode.
Yeah, it's it's a good show. Like, I listened to it before I was on it. It's better with me on it, but like it was a good show before, and I think movie shows are. There's a lot of them, but I don't think a lot of them are very good. Is the best way I can put it. I think this one's good.
We did an episode of a movie podcast, kind of a co-episode with the Asylum. I think I told you about that.
Yeah. Trust Slater.
She's fun. The movie studio Asylum, just like Sharknado and shit like that.
Ugh. Sorry, that's my instinctive reaction.
No, and that's kind of the point.
No, yeah, nobody does. That's kind of the whole point.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I figured.
Yeah.
Right. You pick a movie and you just review it, and it's just, making fun of the movie for an hour or however long.
Yeah, like an MST3K situation.
Right.
Sort of, yeah.
It's a lot of fun. We'd like to do another one with Tressa.
Which one was it you were talking about?
Rise of the Zombies was the
movie
we covered.
Oh, it was so bad. But it had, like, for them, an all-star cast.
Yeah, yeah. It was essentially like it was their Walking Dead knockoff. To try to milk in the money. They're a mockbuster company, So
gotcha.
Yeah, okay. So they find these, films or TV genres.
LeVar Burton's in that movie?
Yeah, LeVar Burton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Machete.
Danny Trejo, obviously. Yeah, he's all over the...
Mm-hmm. He didn't last long. They didn't have much of a budget for him.
No, but they made sure to put his recognizable face as big as they can on the poster.
Right.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, I think
he died sooner than most.
Yeah, the whole thing is like $1 million. Is $1 million or less is their budget, period. And, and they intentionally do that. They just make like mockbuster films and like turn a profit of like, $2 million, maybe just on the off chance that somebody rents it and they don't know what the hell they're renting or whatever.
Yeah, like it looks like something they might like.
Right. Yeah.
I bet I could make real movies that would be like really interesting.
Oh yeah,
on a similar model. But it would be something where, and this is, I suppose, this is very arrogant of me, a non-filmmaker to say, but like there's sort of like whatever it's meant to be. Okay, I'm gonna pick Avatar. I don't like Avatar. I don't think Avatar is very good.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, but I can make like what looks like an Avatar knockoff, but a more interesting movie.
Sure,
but have a low budget like that. We're like, well, actually, there's some interesting ideas here. The blah, whatever, blah 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 blah. And I would, but moreover, I would love to see somebody like that, like either TV series or a movie about that person, like an Ed Wood kind of situation, but not Ed Wood, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like where it's just like, no, this is what I do. I make these like knockoff movies, but I put but the creative sort of twist to it is that they put their heart and soul into it, and they're actually pretty interesting, right?
Yeah, that's not this company.
I was gonna say, which does not. The thing I was gonna say is that doesn't seem like what this company does.
Right. And I think they are just fine. They know who they are and what they are, and you are welcome to laugh at them all you want. Right?
Sure.
We know we're ridiculous, and if it were like somebody that were really putting their heart and soul, I would feel like a dick, like ripping on the movie.
Yeah. Exactly. Not everything has to be set up for the Criterion Collection, right? It's fine.
No.
Right.
Yeah. Getting that Milli Vanilli money.
Exactly.
So, Dangerous Nomenclature coming out on vinyl.
Finally, yeah, about goddamn time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't even put the vinyl reorder up for a while just because we knew it was going to be a bit. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard, but the supply chain issues. It's crazy.
God,
What is
Like, yeah, it's.
yeah,
You heard about this, Paul?
no,
No.
you're the first one we've ever heard from
Yeah,
this. On,
So we just waited. We waited like a few months to even put up the pre-order, and then we're like, "Hey, September." Then it looks like it's going to be like, 2 weeks from now, which at the time of this is into July. So better to tell people to be there in September and send it to them beforehand than the other way around.
right.
I mean, both Dark Passengers and the Household Gods record were whenever it was said that they were going to come out, it actually delivered to people far later. So
Yeah.
I personally am not going to go through that again. No way. Because it's like, well, and people don't ask the label, they ask me, and it's like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know any more than you do. I'm sorry.
Just talk to Jack White. Jack White has your back.
Yeah, exactly.
He'll help you out.
He'll
He
have all
does.
the answers.
But Jesus Christ. I get so mad at some of the artists. I'm like, you're rich enough.
Yeah, cut it out.
People, if you want to put out your record in a year, right, you'll make more money. How about this? You put out the CDs now, you wait a year, and then put out your record, right? They'll go out and buy the record. Do that. Let the fucking people that are starving make their goddamn records.
And attempting to work, trying to go on tour and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, I think we're ready in time. I don't know. I mean, for us, they will be, but that's because we literally planned in another 3 months of potential delay.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, I think I spilled the news to you guys last time I was on. It was like January or something. Right. So, and here we are sitting at like July, August, depending on how you're measuring time. And it's like, well, it turns out being conservative about that was correct. So that's one of the reasons why. I'm not saying there won't be Action Chief vinyl. I'm just saying, like, if somebody wants to do it, great. But like, that's not.
So that's by Christmas, right?
We're doing CDs. I mean, like, we're doing CDs, and like those are going to go out to radio, and then college radio, that is, and all of those things. But I mean, it's just too risky to put out vinyl for a completely untested band. Where, it's definitely not going on tour anytime soon that I'm aware of. Which isn't to say that we wouldn't do it. I'm just saying that, like, unless, like, a Tool comes calling or something. Hey, we really need Action Chief to come on tour with us. Okay, we will. Fine, Chris Arm.
If we must.
But aside from, like, miracle events along those lines, I wouldn't, But then again, maybe like Joe was saying, who you should totally have on, by the way. Joe was great.
Yeah.
He was like, watch this become like the thing that's like more famous than anything else we do. Yeah, that'd be hilarious. But I wouldn't be mad at it either because I stand by it. I think it's good. Obviously, I think it's good.
Yeah. Right. I get that though.
Yeah, I hear about that from a lot of artists. Just like they don't like recognize their hits. Or recognize when they make something. Well, going back to Jack White, I think I've told the story before, but like he played like Seven Nation Army for some of his friends. It's like, what do you think of that hook? And they were like, meh.
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. Kind of repetitive.
Yeah, it's all right. He's like, next thing I know, I'm in football stadiums. It's blaring everywhere I go. He's like, but I didn't see it.
Well, yeah, you never know.
Yeah,
you never know. I mean, to this day, one of the most played on the various services that people stream music through songs by Conan Neutron and Secret Friends is Quid Pro Quo off of The Art of Murder. And I like that song a lot. But when we first recorded that record, it took until us listening to the mixes that were like, hey, that's really good. That's a good song. Mm-hmm. And like, we were all kind of surprised. We're like, oh yeah. Like I thought that one was okay, but it's like, that was really good. That's interesting.
Right.
And now it's like, okay, like that's the one that now granted it has something to do with the fact that phrase was a little popular for a while due to a certain ex-president and his antics. But like whatever, like it's a really, and I think I'm usually pretty good about identifying which are the ones that are going to connect with people and which are the ones that are just like, you know, holding a place or doing a thing in the context of the record.
Right.
But I mean, I didn't realize until I heard the finished recording. I'm like, oh, that sounds great. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. And like, you know, that tends to be one of people's favorites for this band. And it's like, hey, that's awesome. And the heartbreaking thing is when your one's like, oh, this is great. This is the one. Like, this is the one everyone's going to like vibe with. And then like, it just
falls flat.
Right. Or even like as a fan, I've gone through some degree of that. Like the artist that I was really, really into, and then, you know, they try something a little different. They're not even thinking it's going to be a regular thing. And then it just blows up.
Yeah. Like, shit. Okay.
Right. Like, are you familiar with the Frames, Irish band?
No, I don't think so.
Great band. I bet you've heard of the singer though. His name's Glenn Hansard. Have you the movie Once? Like musical?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. He did that movie for like his former bass player from the band. He was like, I want to make this movie. Will you be in it? And he reluctantly was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Right. And he had written the songs and they had somebody else in it. And then the other guy couldn't do it. And he was like, okay, I'll do it. Like blew up and won an Oscar.
Oh yeah, that's hilarious.
Right. And like that all of a sudden I am a solo artist, right? And I was just like, oh, you know, I'm really happy for him, but then my favorite band is no longer functioning.
Not doing stuff anymore. Exactly. That's yeah, I mean, you know, it's not like, and there are genres that I enjoy that I'd be like, oh, it would be interesting to write a record of, you know, this type of music or do whatever. But somewhere in the back of my mind, it was like, well, what if you like just made this like breezy, easy genre exercise and that became like the biggest thing you've ever done? And I'm like, right. And then I was like, I wouldn't be okay with that. Right. It's like the first thing I think of. I would be like, I would not feel as good about that as if like, you know, people were engaging with something I put my heart and soul into. And maybe I shouldn't think that way because ultimately, who cares, right? As long as it's something you are happy with and will stand behind,
right?
But I don't know that it would be a drag, right? You see,
I can see
whole creative being into a thing,
right?
And then like, and it's like people are like, yeah, that's fine. Oh yeah, but this like, you know, whatever one-off electronic record. Oh, that's amazing. That's the thing. That's
right? Yeah. Well, yeah, it's like even Perry Farrell said about like, you know, he's like, if I have to play the Mountain Song one more fucking time. Right. And it's like, if you go to a Jane's Addiction show, you better hear the Mountain Song. You know,
I would be fucking pissed off if I didn't hear Mountain Song at a Jane's show.
They're saving it for the encore. You know?
Right. But he's just like, Jesus Christ, night after night after night. Yeah. You know, he's like, come on, we have like, you know, 10 other fucking albums, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that too when you're too close to it.
But that was my introduction to them too. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Nothing shocking.
Yeah. You know, and it's whatever. And there's certainly bands that have been in that position and artists that have been in that position. And, you know, it's what it is. There's always the mindset of like, hey, it's better to be famous for something that you're not 100% your thing than never having it connect with people at all too. But I think there's just for me, there's like I don't think there's anything I do where I won't stand by it. Even if I'm like, you know, that didn't quite do the thing I was meaning for to do or didn't quite get there or whatever. Right. But like, I still stand by like some aspect or part of it. Like I would never be involved with something where I'm like, yeah, this is not my deal. I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you have that, then you should be fine with it. I mean, it's a minor miracle anybody connects with anything at all.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, it's like like the fact that like not that I'm like some big successful artist or whatever, but like I'm so much more well off than others. The fact that people have connected with any of it so far, you know, it's a minor freaking miracle.
Yeah. But in a way, like it's really cool that like I've found like I like having friends and being close to people that are making really good music.
Sure.
That not everybody knows about. Like, you know, people are genuine when you're at that level.
If they're not, right. Their bullshit will probably not be tolerated.
You know what? But there's definitely, and that doesn't mean I don't like want like huge success for people because I think they're awesome.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
But I really like having those connections and having like that feeling of family, right? And you've managed to do that in two different places, right? You've gone from the Bay and now you're in Wisconsin, and you've done it twice, and that's kind of a testament to you.
Maybe I'll go for the trifecta. Who knows?
Right? Where's next?
Pick up stakes in Branson, Missouri. Here we come.
There you go.
It's the Neutron Theater. It's a review. You can hear all your favorite Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends, and Action Chief, and Household God songs, and there's even a replicator one now and again.
Yeah. You even got
And
the
watch
spark-
out for the encore, because they do Louie, and it's not to be believed. You know?
Right.
You got the sparkly coat.
Yeah, exactly. I already got the look. I'm ready for my fat Elvis phase. Thank God. Thank God.
Men say
Nice.
only
Hey, you know what?
fools-
Like, Suspicious Minds is a great tune.
Oh yeah.
And there's a bunch of like good songs from that era.
What
As much as
the
people
hell?
focus on the poor eating habits and the man's weight, like there's some good tunes there.
Yes.
We got a new Chicago band for you to add to the family. Check them out, Big Bird.
Big Bird.
They're
Yeah.
called Big Bird.
Big
Okay.
Bird.
Yeah,
All lowercase
All right.
with a period at the end.
for the period.
Because the name has been taken so many times. But they're
Wow. Yeah, I was
like-
gonna say they yeah.
they're done with names. But yeah.
They're looking forward to the cease and desist.
Yeah.
All right. It's good to have something to look forward to, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yes.
Big Bird with a period. Are they on Bandcamp or something?
Yes,
or?
yes. Yep. All lowercase, Big Bird with a period. Space between Big and Bird. Yes, Jason Thompson, friend of the show. So good stuff, man.
Okay. All right.
Good
Check it out.
stuff. Yeah, check them out. They're right up in your neck of the woods.
Action Chief Joe, that Resurrectionist record is coming out. You guys should check that out. When not the least of which because I'm putting it out, but like also because it's really good. Like it's an interesting band. They're cool.
Right on.
Are you on the Service tip at all? The band Service.
Service. Yeah, I listened to some of their stuff when you were on the road with them. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
fucking
Good
bad. They
stuff.
finally released that goddamn record they've been tracking for like 4 years, and it's really good. That's one of my favorites of the year. They're really awesome. I'm trying to think of who else.
Yeah. How many shows did you play with them?
I think not like a 4 or something like that. It wasn't like a crazy amount. I wanted to be 40, but take what we can get.
Right.
It's nice to be able to do like one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they're really good. I'm trying to think of Juna. The new Juna record's going to be awesome when that comes out. DJUNAH. Juna.
It's a silent D. Okay.
Yeah, it's fucking just like Donna's old band Beat Run Jewel was spelled all crazy too, and I love them to death, but I couldn't remember the band name for a solid year. I was like, it's
That's a problem.
Beat. There's 3 words.
I hate when I do that too. Oh,
Yeah.
there's this band. You're really going to like them. What's their name?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Juna, they have the first record came out a little while ago, but yeah, she tracked the second one. I expect that's gonna be amazing. Tropical Fuckstorm from Australia. I think you guys already know those guys, right?
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, they're awesome. Helms of Lee, the new Helms of Lee is amazing. That's great. That's really good.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else lighting my fire right now. Lungs they're consistent. Consistently badass. They have not made a bad record yet. I do not expect them to.
Yeah. What other irons do you have in the fire, though? I mean, upcoming shows.
Shit,
I mean,
man,
shit
isn't
like
that enough?
No. It's not. Upcoming.
Oh, the
Make
Deep
the
Tunnel
movie,
Project.
man.
Deep Tunnel Project with
See.
Mike and John from Tar. No, I'm not in that. I'm just saying you guys
Oh,
check it out.
okay.
And Tim from Silkworm is playing bass.
All right.
That's
Okay,
really good.
cool.
You got any shows coming up, though?
Yeah. Well, we were gonna do a second run with Service, but they had to pull out of that because they're doing a whole big run with this new fancy booking agent they got and everything. We're gonna be out in September
Hey?
with a band I really like that is a well-known band, but until it's confirmed, I feel weird about saying anything about it.
Okay.
But that's gonna be West Coast, and that'll be
Of course.
Yeah. Well, we might do some of the Midwest stuff too, but
let us know.
Yeah, I will. I should be. It would, since it's September, I should be able to say something about it at this point, but I just can't. And also, I don't want to say it lest that not come true.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right,
Yeah.
right.
That has happened a lot with this band. We'll
wait till we hit stop recording.
Right.
I'll take you guys off air because that's gonna be real useful for the show. But we're gonna be gone for like a week and a half doing that on the West Coast, and then we're gonna do. There's this thing in Peekskill, New York called 1-2 Heart U that we're gonna do in October. And I think we're doing like Detroit, Philadelphia, that New Haven, Pittsburgh on the way back, and probably gonna be it for the year. I was trying to get out to you guys' neck of the woods this year, but I think it's gonna probably be a spring thing at this point. Tony's moving back to Louisville, and I just keep adding on more and more crap for us to do and making it hard for him to do that. So I figure we let him move first, and then we can work that. But one of the things I want to do is I want to bring Service over because they're based in Indianapolis. Is bring them over you guys neck, not just to you guys specifically.
No, just us.
Yeah. Ideally, more than just you guys. No,
I have a birthday in December, so
well, me too.
There
Yeah, it's great. Let's
you want to come play my living room? And,
I've played less. I played worse for less. There you go.
I got guitars. I got extra guitars, and
we'll do my backyard. It'll be Matterwall.
There you go. Well, we didn't. We played Kansas City in. It was actually one of the last shows we played, January of 2020. Not January, February, whatever. It was cold. Remember that. But yeah, we'll I thought it was going to be this fall, but I think it's the most likely scenario is it's going to be the spring. The idea is that after Dangerous Nomenclature out, we're going to do a lot more stuff. And then ideally, when the split with Lung comes out, which they're finally tracking their piece of in a couple weeks, that we're going to do like some bigger stuff around them probably. Because they're like, they just announced their tour dates and it's like, Black Flag or something. It's like they're going to be gone from like September to like December or something, and it's just like it's like a freaking dictionary, like where they had to put the font in like 6-point type to be able to get all the dates in. Which they deserve it. They work incredibly hard, and they're great. Have you guys seen them play yet?
No.
Have you seen Ling play? Yeah, they're one of my favorites. They're highly recommended to. Let's see if they're coming near you guys. They're playing every other goddamn place.
That's the other thing right now that's killing me is like everybody that I want to see is playing at the same time, and I don't have like the availability or the money to go to all of them. It hurts me, and I feel like a dick when I don't go to one.
Yeah,
yeah.
Not much you can do about that.
There's not, and I know people understand, but I feel like an asshole.
Well, that's very honorable of you. They're playing October 7th in Kansas City.
There we go.
Let's see. October 6th. Oh, it's Wichita. Never mind. I saw that K. They'll play your living room eventually. You know, they're that kind of band. Like if you, I love them. They're one of my favorite bands going right now. So hopefully that'll go. But yeah. Other than that, but we're gonna track the rest of the Secret Friends record. That probably be 2024, maybe over the winter. We're writing more Action Chief stuff. I don't know. Like we'll see how that goes. Sweet. That turns into something. Then it'll turn into something. But we have another record of ideas, and we got this weird kind of like downtime before things step back up in September for Secret Friends. So try and take advantage of it while Tony's still here, because logistics is going to be a lot more difficult, and probably honestly going to be Conan Neutron, the Secret Friends related, when he's living in Louisville. So
right on.
We'll see. But
we'll be here.
never idle for long, you know.
Yeah, we'll be here. We'll keep trying to stay alive.
I will say that if you guys like the Dangerous Nomenclature stuff, you should. I think you'll be very pleased with what's going to be on the Lung split and the
cool
record. Because, like I said, I really, again, every artist says that, but I feel like it's the best stuff we've ever done, and it's.
I want to hear it.
Yes,
it's a nice feeling. Yeah, eventually you'll. There's that comp. We're doing basically, since we live in the world and everything. I'm like, you hear about the Supreme Court, guys? You hear about this?
What? No.
Yeah, they're up to
How have we made it without talking politics?
Well, I wasn't gonna jinx it, but so learning curve. Well, I think it's actually going to be a Caterwaul Society comp. I don't know. The lines are all blurred, but there's going to be another compilation that's going to be for equal rights advocates, ostensibly in defense of a woman's right to choose. And there's going to be a exclusive song on that. That eventually is probably going to be on the new record, but whatever. That's like a year from now. So by the time that happens, people, it'll be like The Road. People are like, hey, this was on a previous release.
Right.
Hey, let me get some more of that dog to eat.
Right. Oh shit. I was just reading that actually.
The least of our concerns is going to be if the song had been released before, is the way I look at it. Well, it's 130 degrees in the shade, and the Water Wars have entered their second year, but this song was released before. Okay.
Right.
Still.
Let's not have that be the note that we ended on, please.
Yeah, we'll be living in Canada.
But yeah, that's all coming up. More Neutron stuff coming up. Protonic's always going. Moving Extravaganza's apparently always going too.
Always going. Great guest too, by the way, lately.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stefan Edgerton was really good. I thought that was a big Descendants fan.
Yeah.
That finally came through.
Yeah. I really wanted to. I saw at one point in time that the Descendants were playing people's yards for like $8,000, and I really wanted to get the money for that.
Yeah, that would be, talk about the ultimate flex.
Yeah, no shit.
Descendants played my yard, bitch.
Probably like $10,000 worth of damage to your home, but.
Well, yeah, exactly. But it's for the bragging rights. It isn't for the anything else.
Yeah. Fucking cool.
But yeah, that's about it. I think, I don't know, maybe we'll get restless and start something else, but doubtfully. But it's. I appreciate you guys bringing me on to talk about Action Chief, because so far you're the only ones, and and we really like it.
You know what? We're not going to be the only ones. It's really good.
Yeah, it's going to take off.
It's for the people. It's for.
I'm sure.
It's.
I really fucking dig it. It's just. It's so refreshing. It's so refreshing to hear.
The absurdity is part of the fun for us, and I like that any and all dick moves and songwriting and arrangement is done, and then with the most open of hearts is the best way I can put it.
Right.
Yeah, and if you know me, I mean, it's one of those albums that, listening to, and the first minute in when I hear the hooks, that I grin really hard.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Yep. So that should tell you something.
That absolutely does. And I appreciate you guys so much in all the other aspects, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, man, we appreciate you, too.
Yeah.
It's so good to catch up, and come back on in the fall.
Yeah. Maybe I can finally tell you about the things that are supposed to happen. Hopefully they'll have happened by then. We'll see.
We'll see. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to Undetermined the Podcast. Special guest, the hardest working man in show business since James Brown died, Conan Neutron. Thanks for coming on, man. Check out Action Chief. Good shit.
For sure.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks, man.
Take care.